Ta-da! Hello, everybody. How you doing? My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential. Oh, my sound maker is it? Stand by. Welcome to the show, everybody. I hope you enjoy it. That's my round of applause, my audience participation. So, anyway, hey, everybody. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for middle Americans where all middle Americans are welcome. Doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter where you're going, just matters that you're here right now with me because on this show, we try to embrace the concept that middle America is great and that the majority of the people in the middle have a hey, can't we all get along attitude. There's not a lot of hostility. Now everybody is being forced to pick a side. One of these days I'm going to do a show on how in the world do our politicians get away with dividing the country up into two sides like we're sports teams or anything. So they divide you up in the states. They divide us up by the federal government. They make you declare whether you're left, right, or whatever, so you can vote in primaries or not vote in primaries, depending on what you got going. So it's absolutely uh, despicable because they make us all pick. And I don't want to pick. I want us all to be on the same side. Like right now, the government is shut down and it pisses me off because there's only 535 people that are up there in Washington and they can't get their shit together enough in order to pass budget resolutions in order to fund the government. So we got a bunch of people that work for the government that aren't getting paid right now. That's a bunch of crap because some people are inept or have a political agenda or have something that is wrong with them inside that they have to dislike enough people that they're not going to do a good job. Here's what the deal is. I'm not going to get into it tonight, but one of these days I'm going to do a show on filibusters. That's what's going on in Congress right now. The Democrats are filibustering the movement of the continuing resolution put forward by the Republicans. A filibuster was started a long time ago. I'll explain more. So a filibuster, originally, when the country was started, was part of the Senate, and a single senator, one senator, could say, hey, I don't like this legislation, so I'm just going to hold the House floor for as long as me and my friends can talk, and I will recognize somebody else in the Senate, and then they can recognize somebody else. So no legislation had to come out of the Senate. Well, that got too cumbersome because if you have 50 senators, two from each state, and one person from, let's say, I don't know, the state of Arkansas didn't like legislation, they could literally hold it up, just like is happening right now. So what they did is they changed it to three quarters. Three quarters? I don't know. They lowered it from where one person could stop legislation moving forward to like three quarters. And now it is 2/3. That means that you have to have 60 votes in the Senate to move legislation along. Well, there's not 60 Republicans in the Senate. And because there's not 60 Republicans in the Senate, that means that legislation cannot move forward without at least some Democrats voting on the issue. Why is this important? This is important because of what I'm about just to tell you about your government, because your government keeps screwing us. It just pisses me off over and over and over. These idealistic schmucks and dirtbags go up to Washington and they go, we're going to fix everybody's problem, everybody. I promise you. We're going to fix it because we're smarter than everybody else. We're smarter than business capitalism. That means that consumer demand and products being out in the environment and the competitive nature of the way a capitalized capital system, capitalistic system works, because it is, you have to have competition in order to do well in order to keep prices down. If only one company owned all the gas in the United States, they could charge you whatever they wanted to for a gallon of gas, and none of us would ever go to work because we would have to be stuck at home because we'd be paying $50 or $20 a gallon. Now they're getting it for about $55 to $60 a gallon, but they could sell it to us for whatever they wanted because there's only one source. That's why you can't have a monopoly in a market. So anyway, I digressed. I don't mean to digress, but man, my brain goes one way. All right, here's why. Here is why the government sucks. Right after we do our own thing, which is right here, we're going to talk about the Constitution of the United States of America. The world population is 8,253,873,969. That's what I'm talking about. In the United States, we have 347. Now, see that number right there? It's going up really, really slow. Want to see something that's really kind of crazy? Where is Japan on this list? Oh, Japan's not on the list. Japan's numbers are stopped. Look at that. There's 122 million people in Japan, and look at that. That number's 706. It might drop to 705 here shortly. Isn't that interesting? All right. So anyway, I digress once again. The world debt clock. I would like everybody to notice it was reported today that the national debt is $38 trillion. I would like to repeat that. The amount of money that you owe and the amount of money that I own and everybody that is responsible for the debt in the United States of America, it is $38 trillion. Do you know how many zeros that is? That's 16 trillions, or that's 16 zeros, right? So wait a minute. So you have 3 for 100, 4 for 1,000, 5 for, that's not right because there's 100,000. So it's three figures is 1,000. I don't know. That's a lot of zeros. There's too many zeros to count. I'm not going to count them right now. Hey, oh, wait a minute. I know how to fix this. Hey, Siri, how many zeros are in a billion?
In a billion, there are 9 zeros.
9 zeros in a billion. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. So let's hear it for Siri. Round of applause. All right. So I would like to point out, how important is this to everybody that the government is shut down? How important is it? Let me share how important is it. This right here is a screenshot of yahoo.com. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to do this first. There it is. The U.S. hits $38 trillion in debt at the fastest accumulation of $1,000, $1 trillion outside of the pandemic. Is that crazy? All right. So here we go. Going to close that. And this is, you have to point out, I would like to point out that there's not one thing on this entire page about the shutdown. If they snuck it in, that means I just wasn't paying good enough attention. But there's nothing in the news about the shutdown. So we've been shut down for a couple of weeks. Hold on. Come on, man. When I click on you, you're supposed to click. Come on, Restream, do better. So I clicked on it, just didn't switch screens. So nobody cares about the shutdown except the people that is affecting, which is every single day, people that are out here. My opinion is that the government keeps screwing us. They are screwing us. They do it over and over and over, and it's the government officials' fault. Now, I'm going to give you 4 very definitive reasons why the government keeps screwing us, and we need to stop them from doing it. That means we need to get new politicians in there. Operation 535 all over again. There needs to be a big push for term limits in Congress. That would fix a lot. The Republicans own this issue, and they have the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives right now. This needs to happen right now, this year. Somebody needs to put legislation forward for term limits. Now, everybody that's in there that's all greedy, they can keep their jobs for as long as they can keep their jobs. But just like we had an amendment to limit the terms of the president of the United States, we need to be able to do that for people in Congress, Senate, and House. So we need to get rid of them. All right. So the shutdown. Let's talk about how the government screws us. Government screws us all the time. Here's how they do it. All the do-gooders that go up to Washington, pick an issue, and they go, you know what we would like to do? We would like to solve this issue, like the housing crisis in America in 2008. Now, Fannie Mae was invented as a part of the housing market in 1938, and Freddie Mac came along in 1970. So they've been around for a really, really long time. But in 2008, the government, or in 2008, we had a housing crash. And you have to ask yourself, Mickey, why did we have a housing crash? Because of what those son of a bitches did in Congress. This is not a left issue. This is not a right issue. The people in Congress screwed us all, right? So what they did is they artificially lowered interest rates because we had a tech bubble that burst early in 2000s. And because the tech bubble burst, because more people were putting money into the tech market, like all of the tech companies that are in Silicon Valley, right? Because our government said we need to do something to stimulate the economy because the tech bubble just broke. And what else? And after 9/11, they decided that they were going to artificially lower interest rates by enacting something called the Congressional Reinvestment Act, or the Community Reinvestment Act. What that did is that guaranteed loans through Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae at sub-rate mortgage interest rates. The reason was because Fed policy was screwing the country, and because Fed's only job is to make sure that the economy is stable. That's their only job, and they keep screwing it up. Every time that we have a recession, that means that the Fed screwed up. Jay Powell, I'm talking to you. He's the leader of the Fed, right? So anyway, way back there after 9/11, in 2010, they said, all right, we're going to let Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy sub-rate mortgages that were bought because banks screwed people with adjustable mortgages, where the payments start small and then they have balloon payments, and then people started getting foreclosed on because the banks went after all their property, because they knew that if they gave a loan to somebody and the people didn't pay, that they would end up with their property. But more importantly than that, that if in a crisis, they could get rid of the mortgage and bundle it up and give it to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, then the government would guarantee those loans. So the government was guaranteeing all these subprime mortgages. And then when the bubble burst, the taxpayer is left holding the bill. And then they go, hey, we got to pay for all this stuff. So we got to start paying. So we got to collect all the taxes from you and from me and from everybody else. And so they screwed us with the housing market. This was created by Congress and by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Yeah, the bankers took advantage of them. The mortgage lenders took advantage of them. All the financial institutions like the banks and the federal credit, the credit unions and stuff like that, they all took advantage of the government because the government's so effing stupid. Woo! Can you believe that? The government created the conditions that led to the 2008 mortgage housing crash. I don't know whether I said that right, but I said what I said, right? So that's what happened. So the federal Congress encouraged banks to lend to historically discriminated against lenders, whether they could pay back or not. They created the conditions for it. Now we have crash. But that's not the first time or the last time. I'm not going to talk about all the time that the government has created programs that ended up crashing, right? The next one I want to talk about, though, is student loans. Because This is another example of 2010 and all the do-gooders that were out there. Now, 2010 was during the Obama administration. Now, 2010 is during the Obama administration, and they went, you know what? All these banks are screwing these students over here. Although the students went out and got the loans, and they knew what the interest rates were, but they said, you know what? The banks are screwing the people, so I would rather have the government screw the people. So the federal government took over the vast majority, like over 90% of all of the student loans in the United States of America. What happens when you only have one person competing against themselves? It gets absolutely crazy. So, what did the government do? The government guaranteed all of the student loans. And they looked at the colleges and said, hey, you know what? We're going to guarantee these loans so that our kids can be educated. So Congress did that. Congress did that with the Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act of 2010. And the government guaranteed payments to school if students' payoff was not being paid. That means that if you're guaranteed to get money from somebody for doing a service for somebody else, so like I go and mow my neighbor's yard and I know that the government's going to pay for it, and my neighbor doesn't have any money, but he promised that he would pay, and the government said, hey, look here, we're going to give a loan to your neighbor so that Mickey can mow Mickey can mow the neighbor's lawn. Makes sense, right? So if the neighbor doesn't pay, I know that the government's going to pay me. So my question is how much do you think I'm going to charge my neighbor to mow his grass? And what do you think the rate is going to be next year and the following year and the following year? Because I know that eventually I'm going to be charging rates that my neighbor can't pay. But the government can. So I'm going to raise my rates to mow his lawn, much like the colleges and universities in the United States raised all their shit, knowing that the government was going to pay them back. So that's where all the football stadiums came from. That's where all the dormitories are now coming from. That's why colleges are spending like sailors on a weekend in Thailand. They're like, hey, man, we got free money. We got nothing but time on our hands. Let's go build everything that we possibly can. Let's expand all of our departments. Let's hire more professors. Let's hire more administrative staff. Let's get more different. The colleges went crazy because the government said that they were going to guarantee student loans. Why in the hell wouldn't you overcharge students if you know that the government was going to pay them off? They raised the rate of college 2 to 3% every single year starting in 2010. That compounds. You got to remember, if I do a 3% raise this year and a 2% next year, that means the 2% is on the 100% of the interest plus the 3%. And then if I add another 3% on top of the 3 and the 2, if we add 3% of the cost of college every single year, it totals up to 34% increase in the cost of college. Is that crazy? But the government screwed us because they took over the student loan program. And then they went, hey, look here, now we're going to have to pay for all these student loans, so we're going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to restructure everything. We're going to have to take all the rich people's money. That's why we're $38 trillion. How much are we in debt? How much are we in debt? $38 trillion. That's why we're $38 trillion in debt, because the government keeps doing stupid shit. Hey, man, we need to make sure that everybody has a house. How are you going to do that? We're going to guarantee loans. Screwed. They guaranteed everybody's loans, and the people didn't pay, and we get screwed. Then they went education. Hey, look, we're going to guarantee everybody's loans for education. They don't pay, we get screwed. Does this happen again? Has it happened before? Right? Oh, no. It has happened with vaccines in the pharmaceutical industry, in the vaccine industry. I know that nobody wants to have their kids get sick, and nobody wants to get sick. Here's what the problem with that is. The problem is that when the government guarantees a program, that means that whoever they guarantee it, they don't put limits on it. So they don't put limits on these guarantees. So, like with student loans, they didn't say, hey, look here, we're only going to guarantee $30,000 worth of loans. They went, no, go out and spend as much money as you want on college. I got you. I got your back, colleges. Let the kids spend $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, and then you can charge whatever interest rate. You cannot charge these huge interest rates because it's going to be us, but we're going to guarantee them because we're the government. So we own the program. We're going to charge interest rates. We're not going to limit how much they can take. And it doesn't matter whether they're getting a degree in underwater basket weaving or whether they're going to be a doctor. So if a doctor spends, I don't know, let's say $400,000 to get a doctorate degree, you can be pretty sure that your proctologist has the ability to pay off $400,000 because they're a doctor. But if somebody goes out and gets a degree in flower, the study of flowers, horticulture, all they do is they just study what makes a flower grow, right? They're not producing flowers. They're not producing flowers. They just study how a flower grows. That's vast different from being a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or somebody with a hard skill. But they would guarantee the same loan. They would go, hey, look here, you're not in a rock band, but you wanted to get a degree in underwater basket weaving. We will guarantee the same amount in loans for you, or as we would for doctors, engineers, lawyers, and the hard skills. Is that crazy? So a doctor gets a $400,000 loan, and an underwater basket weaver gets a $100,000 or $400,000 loan. Who do you think is going to pay it off? And now the underwater basket weaver now has got $400,000 worth of loans, and they're getting screwed by the colleges because the colleges didn't care about whether they raised tuition or not because the government said they were going to pay them. That's crazy. But back to the vaccines, the same thing happened in vaccines. The government said, hey, look here, we're going to guarantee that if you make a pharmaceutical injection and in a vaccine, we're going to come up with what they call the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program so that you have no liability, pharmaceutical industry, that the pharmaceutical industry and the vaccine industry can go and put out whatever they want, and we will guarantee that the government, will pay if anybody gets hurt by this. You can't even go after the pharmaceutical companies, which would keep them in check if you got injured by a vaccine, because the government steps into the way and goes, oh, whoa, whoa, you're not allowed to talk to the vaccine people. You have to talk to us. And by the way, Congress has limited the amount of money that you can receive if you're injured by a vaccine. You can't even go to the court. You've got to go to the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. So that means that you don't even get to sue the government. Because the court goes, oh, the government wrote a law about this. You've got to go see these bureaucrats over here because your child is injured by a vaccine. So what do you think the pharmaceutical company did? Hey, they're like, let's invent a vaccine for everything and get it on the vaccine schedule. So COVID's on the vaccine schedule. The flu shots are on the vaccine schedule. MMR on the vaccine schedule. Smallpox, diphtheria, you name it, it's on there. Here's the deal. I understand that everybody wants kids to keep their kids safe. That's great. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry had an incentive to get as many pharmaceuticals, vaccines out into the public and onto the vaccine schedule because the government was going to guarantee that they cannot be sued. And if you can make it on the vaccine schedule, you guarantee sales. Oh, no, 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 no. Here's what the deal is. We're on the vaccine schedule, so all of the doctors are going to be told that they got to give all of their patients. And guess what? Because it's on the vaccine schedule, now they can charge whatever they want to for the vaccines. Oh, but we're keeping the prices down. I'm sure you are. I'm sure that the vaccine industry is keeping our well-being and our pocketbooks well taken care of. Because once again, the government created a program that screwed us, paid them, and now we're going to have to pay for that through our taxes every single year, every single generation for a millennium or 2 or 10 or 12. I don't know how long a millennium is. Hey, Siri, how long is a millennia? Hey, Siri, how long is a millennia?
The answer I found is 1,000 years.
So, yeah, we're going to be paying for 1,000 years. Thank you very much, Siri. I appreciate that. I love my sound effects. Isn't that great? All right. So the government screwed you with the housing market. They screwed you with the education thing. They screwed you with the vaccination programs. And now we're going to talk about why the government shutdown is happening right now. This is relevant. I know I'm coming a long way around, but I promise you I'm getting there, right? All right. How many minutes we've been doing this? How long do I got? 26 minutes. All right. I can do this in 5 minutes. The show's going to go long. All right. In 2010, they came up with Obamacare, also known as the Patient Protection and Affordable Act. Patient Protection and Affordability Act. Affordable Care Act. I don't know, the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, right? The ACA, what a great idea. Let's get healthcare. Let's get everybody in America covered in healthcare. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to mandate that everybody has health insurance. Not that everybody has a doctor, not that everybody has a nurse, not that everybody has a PA, not that everybody has a nurse practitioner. No, we're going to guarantee that everybody has insurance. What the fuck does that have to do with doctors and nurses and healthcare? That's my first question. The idea behind this is insane, that they would come up with the concept of, hey, we are going to have a healthcare program, but we're not going to make everybody get healthcare. We're going to make sure that everybody has insurance. So they did that. They mandated that you, me, brothers, sisters, all of us had to have health insurance. The problem is, now that they mandated that, what do you think the insurance companies did? Do you think the insurance companies, now that they're guaranteed to have a customer base, give any bit of a damn about the prices that they're going to charge? How in the hell does Congress not think of this? How in the world does Congress not go, hey, you know what? If we guarantee that people are going to have this, what stops them from raising their prices so that is they get all the money and the people have shitty health care? What's guaranteed? So here's what the guarantee was. The guarantee was that a certain percentage of the amount that you paid to the insurance companies had to go to healthcare. Oh my gosh, that sounds so great. If I pay them $500 a month, then $400 has to go to healthcare and $100 has to go to whatever the insurance company needs. So the profit, to take care of the administration or do whatever. Here's what those dumbasses didn't think about. Here's what those dumbasses did not think about. I'll repeat that because this is right. What makes them decide to not raise the prices? Because they go, hey, look here, a percentage of the amount of money that you give to your healthcare people has to go to healthcare. Awesome. It's $500. Well, guess what? If it's $1,000, then that means that it's guaranteed that instead of the $400 going to healthcare, $800 go to the healthcare, but we got to pay for that money. We got to pay the premiums to support that model. Because we got to pay the money to support the model, that means that the insurance companies can take as much money they want from us. They just have to pay a certain percentage of it back into the medical system, what causes the medical system prices to skyrocket because now they have more guaranteed money. So they didn't screw us once with the Obama healthcare plan. They screwed us twice. They screwed us because they guaranteed the money to the insurance companies. Then that guaranteed money to the medical system. You want to know where all these big hospitals came from all of a sudden after 2010? They're getting all your money because all the money, the government is taking care of the subsidies that paying for poor people. So when they raise their prices, all of a sudden the government's got to pay more money for health care. That's what the fight is about. That's why the government shut down because the government went, whoa, the insurance companies are out of control. They are taking too much of our money. So when COVID came around, they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to subsidize healthcare. So the government is going to start paying premiums for people, and we're going to pay a portion of all the premiums that paid. You know what that makes the insurance companies? Makes them junkies. Dude, I got to get a hold of some of that more money, that government money. I got to get the government money so that I can keep, because they're going to pay me the subsidies. I don't have to rely on people paying me. So once again, I can raise prices as high as I want to because if the people don't pay them, I'm still getting the subsidies. It's insane. It's insane. So when Congress, and I'm not going to talk about party much, but the Democratic Party, man, they got hearts huge. They got the right idea, right? Let's be socially caring, be physically conservative, but have a compassion for our fellow man. The problem is that they set up systems that break the country financially. They're dumbasses. They don't know how shit works. They have some ideologue going up there going, hey, look here, it'd be a great idea if we can get subsidized money for this healthcare for poor people because healthcare is too expensive. Damn right it's too expensive. It's too expensive because you made it too expensive because you guaranteed that all these insurance companies would be able to charge whatever they want because nobody could get out of the system. Then the unthinkable happened. What was the unthinkable? Donald Trump got in and went, hey, look here, man, if you don't want to be in, if you don't want to have insurance, you don't have to have insurance. That's ridiculous. Because if you have insurance, if it's guaranteed, then the insurance company is going to be making all this money. So you don't have to have insurance. Because Obamacare was screwing the young people and taking care of the old people because the old people had the majority of the bills and the young people had to pay all the premiums for all that care. What happens when you say that you do not have to participate in the Obamacare anymore? Everybody quits. So everybody quit Obamacare. Everybody quit their insurance companies. All the people that didn't want to do it. So what happened? Prices didn't plunge. Prices skyrocketed because they were like, hey, we don't have all these guaranteed dollars coming in anymore that the government said that we need to be able to pay. So the prices skyrocketed. Now nobody can afford insurance, especially the government insurance. So now that the prices of the government insurance have skyrocketed, the Democrats came up with the subsidies to pay them. So the Democrats came up with Obamacare, then they came up with the subsidies, then they came up and they said, hey, look here. I know that Trump and the Republicans are in charge right now, but I would like to talk about this subject right now with the subsidies. We would like them to continue. I know that we created a system that costs too much money. And I know that we created the subsidies that are taxpayer dollars going to subsidize all these companies over here. But the problem is the companies are bailing out because they don't have enough customers anymore. And that means that the prices are skyrocketing because a few people that are left have got to pay all of the bills. So, although we created this problem, and although we created the subsidies problem, we would like to address that right now as a nation while the government is shut down. So do you remember when I was talking about the filibuster in the Senate being able to be held up by one person? Well, the filibuster right now is 7 people. So 53 Republicans in the Senate have said, yeah, we need to be able to keep the government open. But all of their Democrats have said, no, we disagree. We want to talk about this healthcare subsidy thing. So we're not going to find 7 votes that are on the other side of the aisle. So we're just going to shut the government down. So now the healthcare system's still bad. The subsidies are still bad. The government shut down, which is bad. And now they screwed us for the 4th time. Because remember, they screwed us to begin with a housing market. Then they screwed us with student loans. Then they screwed us with the vaccine program. Now they're screwing us with the healthcare system. That's the way that's the way they keep screwing us over and over and over. They come up with this big thing, guarantee something, and then all of a sudden, when it goes to hell in a handbasket, they're stuck holding the bill, which they then hand to you and me. So next time the government says that they're there to help, think of Ronald Reagan's line when he said, what are the 10 worst words that you would ever want to hear in your entire lifetime? And it is, hi, I'm from the government and I am here to help. That's how they keep screwing us. So, hey, Don Ledger, how you doing? Sherry, how you doing? Carolyn, great to see you guys. Woo! That is awesome. I'm so glad that you are here. So anyway, next time your politicians say, I would like to create a program to fix a problem, you tell that dude or that lady to piss off because they're going to screw us. They're going to screw the country, and we're going to end up further in debt than our $38 trillion that we are right now. So that's going to be the show tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll try to find something interesting to talk about next week. Remember, Mickey in the middle of the week, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Central, right here wherever I am, right there wherever you are, on most Wednesday nights. I try to give everybody a heads up if I'm not going to be here, but I don't always do it. But I think I'm going to be here next week. So anyway, do me a favor, like, share, tell everybody about it. I'm working on the Poker Run app as we speak. So go to the Poker Run app, all the letters, the Poker Run app, and download it at the Apple Store. It'll be on Google shortly. That's going to be how I'm going to be doing my business here in the future. So remember, the Poker Run app, go down to Apple and download that thing. It's going to be great. And that's going to be it. Hey, that's my last plug. So good night, everybody. You guys take care. I'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye.